This is Todd Stashwick, and you are watching TrekCulture.
Yeah, I was just going to bed and I remembered Sean's not at work today. So unfortunately you guys have got the most charismatic duo from TrekCulture, Tom and Kris. I've got everything written down, so it should be smooth sailing. We just got to say these words and we'll be good. So the news is late last night, Deadline broke the story, and it was sort of later picked up by other outlets like the Hollywood Reporter and us. And our colleague Bradley Russell's just done an article over at Total Film as well. It's all slightly confusing, but the news is that there is a prequel movie in the works that's set decades before Star Trek's 2009 film. If this is before Nero arrived in the Narada, then this would be a prime.
Yeah,
because that's where the split happened when Nero came back. Nero arrived in 2233 and then hung around for like 20 years or so, and then the launch of the Enterprise was in 2258.
Right.
So that's decades before. So it could possibly be a prime prequel.
Yeah.
To the Kelvin.
Which is, interesting, but then we're going to have the whole, what are they going to do in the Prime universe? Are people going to get upset that they're doing things that they don't like? But then is it going to be like, no, it's still sort of universe, but I don't know.
What's also slightly confusing, it's like this is in addition to, this isn't Star Trek 4, which we've talked about ad nauseum. This isn't the Picard movie script that we were talking about just the other day. This isn't Tarantino's film. That's not going to happen ever. This is a new film, but you do have to wonder if the Picard news that broke the other day is maybe accelerated, like getting this out in the news cycle.
Yeah, maybe people are still clearly interested in Star Trek movies, and the Picard news has sort of propelled it to be pushed further forward. But I don't know. I was thinking about it, to be honest, when I was reading the news. I was like, you know what? I'm actually really excited for Star Trek films, especially if they get to be played in the cinema again. I think that'll be exciting because it feels like such a long time ago that we've got to be able to experience that sort of thing again. I'm so used to watching Star Trek on my laptop that I think it would be fun to do something different.
There's a bit of doubt whether or not this would be a movie-going film because of the, I guess, straight to streaming service special movie events that they're doing with Section 31. We don't know if this is the experimental nature that Patrick Stewart was talking about in that interview in the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast with Josh Horowitz. Maybe that's what he's talking about, TV movies or streaming movies. So it might not necessarily have the budget you'd expect from a Kelvin film. Now, the guy that they've picked to direct it is a TV director, but the stuff he's done is like massive in scope. It's a fella called Toby Haynes. And he's got credentials. So he's done an episode of Sherlock, which is pretty good TV. Just from a filmmaking standpoint alone, it does have like those really cinematic moments. He's done multiple episodes of Doctor Who, so he's from sci-fi stock as well. And he's recently directed the heft of Andor.
Right.
Which
that's
is probably
the big thing. That's
some of the best. Yeah. Well, there's an even bigger thing. Wait, there's more. This is what really got everyone excited. Is going through his IMDb page. He's done an episode of Black Mirror, and a particular episode of Black Mirror. He's the one that directed the episode USS Callister.
It's one of the few episodes I've seen.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
So this was like before Jesse Plemons on his meteoric rise, I guess, because he really blew up after Breaking Bad's final season, didn't he?
Yeah, Breaking Bad. And then he did Fargo, and then this. So there was a few things that were like he was on the way up.
So in that episode, he was he worked at this office, but every time he'd go home, he'd like load up this simulation VR sort of thing, where he would be the captain of a starship, the USS Callister, and his crew were basically his work colleagues, you know, which pretty much adored him. Well, mostly adored him, which of course reminds you of the episode Hollow Pursuits with Barclay and his Voyager programs.
My favorite episode.
So he's got his Twisted down. He also directed in this most recent season as well, Demon 79. That was one of the the standout episodes of this past season. It wasn't so much a sci-fi story; it was like a horror story. I thought. So he's done this like massive scope TV, which sort of like lends it to the idea that this could be a TV budget long Trek special movie event, like Section 31, and possibly this experimental Picard movie script. But there is a lot of dissatisfaction about it being a prequel. You know, when right now everyone wants the 25th century Trek, right? But
I mean, in the article I read, it said that that's sort of still in. Like, it's still sort of happening. The new Kelvin film is kind of it's not just abandoned, but I think it's also just not happening right now.
The last word we had was back in September, I believe, on Collider. The Star Trek 4 writer Lindsay Anderson Beer said, like, you know, it's still on track. It's still going. That was back in September. But you know, it's been 10 years now since Beyond. Yeah,
it has been a while. Oh God.
You know, that crew really hit their stride in the third film, not the third season, the third film. You know, you have to wonder, can that be continued, or do they have to like reset and go through that process of finding a stride again? Because you remember that those three films happened in a 10-year period, and we've had nothing for 10 years, and then. You know, you have to wonder.
10 years is also a long time. Like, is it going to feel weird that they all seem vaguely older? Or are they going to, like, I mean, like in the original films, are they going to play on that? Like, obviously they're not much older, but still 10 years.
Sure. Yeah, there could have been all sorts of promotions and stuff. But I did like Sean's idea of going big. If you're going to do something like that, then maybe have Kelvin characters interacting with the Prime universe. You know, but you know, we're talking about, in comparison, I still say Star Trek 4 was probably like going to be a cinema experience. You know, because of the stars that are attached to that particular part of the franchise. You know, a film cast.
I mean, it also could be one of those things where it's releasing on streaming, but there might be like a one-day release in the cinema or something like that. They do all sorts of things now. So, but it'd be lovely just to have a normal cinema release again. But obviously, there's lots of talk about what it's going to involve. Lots of people saying, is it going to be based around the Enterprise crew, or are they going to feature in it?
This is what I mean, because like the immediate dissatisfaction about the prequel, but then hold on, if this is decades prior, we know for a fact there's like elements of the NX-01 era still kicking around. Like, if you can somehow convince Jolene Blaylock to return, like to Pol, she's a Vulcan, she wouldn't have aged all that much, you know. Whereas Archer, who is still around, Scott Bakula's Jonathan Archer, he's still around at this point, and he was present for the launch of the 1701 Enterprise. He'd be old as hell, but he's still around 150 or something, I think.
Oh jeez.
But yeah, if you want the same sort of excitement in this movie project as the show that isn't a show yet, Star Trek Legacy, including like people like T'Pol and Archer, when we know for a fact, you know, the want for more Enterprise stuff is there. We've done countless videos on, like, you know, why season 5 should happen, you know. Plus now we've had like the little bits of the NX-01 hull being added. That's now canon. We saw little Picard playing with his little Eagle Moss. And then long and behold, at the the museum there at the end, in the middle, episode 6, the bounty. You had the NX-01 with the hull attached there. That'd be cool to explore that. Yeah,
I mean, it'd be a nice it'll be a clever way of being like, look, here's a new film that's sort of Kelvin based, but also we're giving you a new like final to Enterprise, which, you know, they did a similar thing with Picard season 3. If they're giving us like, here's an actual final that you kind of want, like that would be a nice and clever way of doing it, I think.
Point about Star Trek 4 is like, you know, we've talked about it for so long, and I'm worried that will these projects like the Picard movie and this film that's just been announced today, or last night rather, will they actually come into fruition? Just with all the question marks around Paramount at the moment, could this like be posturing and looking busy to potential investors, or, you know, their board, or potential buyers or something? Hey, we got all this cool stuff. Because like, if that were the case, where's the Star Trek: A Legacy announcement? You know what I mean? That would, the amount of buzz that would just build, like, you know, just like a little eye emoji just looking at the fact that Star Trek Legacy's trending for the umpteenth time. Like, how many times? It feels very scattered there. Paramount with Star Trek, it's so scattered that you're just like, are they really focusing on things, or are they just going, we've got all these ideas? So yeah, the one thing that people actually want is, it's nothing at the moment, but there's definitely exciting aspects of this project, prequel Kelvin, whatever you want to call it. There's definitely an exciting atmosphere around it now that, you know, the news has been a bit more processed, and the initial reactions of, oh, here we go again, is actually, now we've had a bit of time to think about things. I'm quite excited, but at the same time I get the sentiment, you know. Well, meanwhile I got a bit of Discovery news as well, Tom.
That came about this morning, didn't it?
This morning, so on the Star Trek on PP Plus social accounts, they announced Discovery Season 5 will be premiering at this year's SXSW TV Spotlight event.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess that's where they're going to show the first episode for the first time. The event will be taking place in Austin, Texas, sometime between the 8th and the 16th of March. So that's to be confirmed. I don't know what day they're going to like actually show the episode, but it's going to be shown in March during this event. But of course, unless you attend this premiere, you probably have to wait until April to see the actual episode, season 5, episode 1. But hopefully that'll be super early, because if you're premiering Discovery episode 1 like mid-March, you know, you don't want to like wait until end of April, 6 weeks later to premiere the first. Spoilers would be out there, man. Like, so hopefully it's like only a 2-week wait or something. That'd be grand. But now I googled SXSW and Discovery together, and that led me to the synopsis of the first episode, which we know from the podcast the other day. Sean read out all the episode names, and the first episode was titled Red Directive, which immediately got me thinking Romulan's Red Matter.
We discussed
used to try and stop
in the podcast the other
we
day.
did, didn't we? But there's further confirmation that we know that quick clip of that Romulan ship that we saw in one of the promos for Discovery Season 5 last year. We now know that is an 800-year-old Romulan vessel from this synopsis. So, synopsis goes: Captain Burnham and the USS Discovery are sent to retrieve a mysterious 800-year-old Romulan vessel, which looks a lot like, the Defector-style Romulan sort of smaller scale ships, like not your massive warbirds. Until the artifact hidden inside is stolen, leading to an epic chase. Meanwhile, Saru is offered a position of a lifetime, and Tilly's efforts to help pull her into a tangled web of secrecy.
So
is Tilly going to be like the Reed character of this? Section 31 this year.
I thought it was interesting that synopsis. It wasn't just a teaser of what is going to be in the first episode, but it sort of showed us like the B and A stories as well that we're going to be getting, and I'm wondering how those things are going to weave together as well. but definitely Romulan. We've got Romulan, so you were correct with that, I suppose.
Oh my God! We did it! Chris Thompson was right.
I'm just guessing. Red directive, like
Yeah,
like the Omega directive. Oh no, there's a bit of red matter here.
directive hasn't got anything to do with the Red Angel. I don't mind what they do.
Yeah,
That would be disappointing.
that's what I mean. Like Discovery really, for me, hit its stride in the third season. Once they got out of canon and they did like what I was saying they ought to do. They should get lost in space, man, or lost in time.
Yeah.
You know, and it actually happened. But there's still like what's really annoying about this coming to an end is like, when are we going to deal with Calypso in that short trek? Like,
Oh yeah.
when did that happen? They could say, oh, that was the Kelvin discovery. All right, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
And that's it, Tom, for our news today. Thank you very much for joining me and getting me through this.
I hope we've been a good enough substitute for Sean as he's away again.
Yeah, sorry we're not as peppy, but
Yeah.
we are generally excited to do Star Trek coverage, of course. Like, but absolutely, this Enterprise element that people are talking about at the moment. Of course, this is absolute speculation. There's no hint of T'Pol apart from an Archer and Enterprise inclusion, apart from that decades before line. You know?
Yeah.
Does that mean like 2 decades? Does that mean 3 or 4? Or you know, does that mean like just the top, the beginning of the 2200s? Like, we don't know.
No.
But anyway, really exciting, guys.
Lots of fun.
Thanks for watching. Where can they follow you on Twitter, Tom?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Tom C. Finn, or Tom Roberts Finn, or TC Roberts Finn, something like that. If you see a man with a beard, then you have found me, and you can see me sharing various Trek things and fantasy book things and blah blah blah.
And you can find me at Edit Chris Edit. Yeah, I'm doing it now. And you can find me at Edit Chris Edit. And of course, you can follow the channel at TrekCulture. And you can follow us on Instagram as well, at TrekCulture YT. And I believe Sean set us up a Blue Sky account and TikTok. And yeah, you can find us there as well. Yeah, we do good stuff there too.
Yeah. Thanks for joining the ZZ Top Star Trek special.
Yeah. I did my beard for this and everything.
Nice.